Hey, check me out, twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. Don't be a snowflake. I definitely want more people there. I'm trying to build up that lovely social media point. So definitely go there. I talk about anything that I want to. And of course, my opinions are my own. If you only want Star Trek or you don't want me to disagree with you on politics or love or sex or things like that, don't go there. But definitely go there if you're not a snowflake. Check me out at twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded and play all kinds of fun games. And that's my off time, though. I just hang out and relax. So do not expect me to be the Lore Reloaded there. You're just hanging out with a guy with an opinion. So let's get into it. Where I don't know how long I'm going to be discussing this, but we're going to go over some of the issues that happened with both Icheb and 7 of 9. Obviously, spoilers from Star Trek Picard. So if you don't want to see the spoilers, definitively don't stay, I guess is what I'm saying. All right, 35 people watching, only 4 likes. Don't be scared of that like button. All right, so there's a couple of things that happened in Star Trek Picard. A couple things that really... Hey, Bruno, hope you're having a good day. Really caught me off guard, but wasn't the end of the world for me. So it's kind of interesting to see how people react when opinions are given. I don't necessarily care too much one way or the other about Icheb or 7 of 9. I did really like 7 of 9. Icheb was a side character and was barely used, so it didn't mean a lot to me. I'm still on the fence on the changing of her base character of who she was, but at the end of the day, I don't think it really hit me all that hard because she wasn't necessarily an icon of mine. Now, if we took another character, I was trying to think who this might impact, like who would have a visceral reaction. And the more I think about it, I think if maybe they had Cisco, or, and I know the timelines don't match up, but if this had happened to Cisco, or maybe, I actually really like Georgiou. Icheb scene was a preview of Tarantino Trek, which is one of the reasons I don't want Tarantino Trek. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, by the way. It's the only way I keep the lights on. But if it happened to Cisco, Georgiou, even though that character sometimes didn't make any sense, Spock, characters like that were either completely mutilated and then killed, or changed so much that their base character of who they are is gone, I probably would have not liked or stopped watching Trek. From a channel standpoint, I may have even... One second, guys, sorry. From a channel standpoint, I may have even stopped doing all Disco Trek, all new Trek, and just stuck to what I call Nostalgia Trek until I got out of the business. So I can kind of see and relate to where people are getting when they're really upset about what happened to 7 of 9 and what happened to Icheb. Here's the problem, I guess, because it seems like there's this huge disconnect. All of that to say this. I didn't hate the episode, I just thought it was the weakest. What's up, Supreme Heretic? Not much. I thought it was the weakest of the series. And I think it specifically and clearly defined that Star Trek is now more for niche audiences, is now more for bringing in new people than it is for being what it was. And you can like that or you can hate it. It's just, it is what it is. And so I thought it was weak, but I didn't hate it. However, I think that the disconnect between people who liked what happened to 7 and people who didn't honestly comes down to the backstory. LL, you make working hard when you do live streams like this because I need to stop to write comments. Well, I'm sorry. Go for no. I do it on purpose, sir. I do it on purpose. So here's the disconnect, I think. And I've went through the comments. I actually pulled a couple up. And for Twitter at least. I pulled a couple up, and we'll go through those in a few minutes. But the main disconnect seems to be, what's going on, Trek Culture? By the way, guys, you guys should check out Trek Culture if you have not. Pretty cool channel. They actually just launched yesterday, so definitely subscribe to them. Maybe some things working in the background. No, never know. For this channel and Trek Culture, but can't confirm. So, the disconnect, I think, more comes from the fact that people who like what happened to Seven of Nine simply accept the story and just go with it. And people who do not like how they treated Seven are upset more because it's unearned, even if they don't say it that way. In one episode, in less than 44 minutes, with no background to it, we see Icheb die, and then ultimately this turns Seven of Nine into a renegade that literally commits murder. Now, this is the antithesis of everything that Seven of Nine was. So when you take a look at Star Trek Voyager, and you see, I think it was season 2 or season 3. It was in 97, because I'm doing a video on this. It was in 97 that we were introduced to Seven of Nine. And then from that point, she was very selfish, very wanting to be a part of the collective, was not a people person. By the last episode, Voyager had become her family, and she had still risen above who she was more than the sum of her parts, but she fully believed in nostalgia Trek tropes. So she believed in giving herself to save others. She believed in the mantra of the Prime Directive. She was, for all intents and purposes, the superior human that we wanted her to be. Murder, I see Janeway taught her well. Yeah, despite Janeway's attempts, Seven actually became a full-fledged superior human. However, since then, now let me say this too. For those who know, I really embrace the insane way trope. Even though she's not supposed to be that way, her actions more show her as a maniacal anti-villain, or I wouldn't say anti-hero. Yeah, anti-villain, I think, would be a good way of saying a villain that daylights as a hero by her writing. But that's not what she was supposed to be. And when I'm looking at this through the lens of what they wanted Seven to be, which I guess is unfair to a degree. Especially when you consider that I look at Death of the Authors the way I look at all works. So that may be a little unfair. However, from the end of Voyager to this episode of Picard, we see a lot has happened to her. She has completely changed. It's not that she's just like a rogue with a heart or anything of that nature. She's a liar. She has lost almost everything. And she is a murderer, a straight up murderer. So, one point to this before we completely go into it as well. Apparently, looking at the IMDb, she has 4 more spots when it comes to... she has 4 more episodes that she's going to be in. I didn't check Icheb. I don't know if he's going to be in any more or not, hopefully. So it's possible, and this is my point. It feels like they jumped the shark. They don't show us why she's made this change. It doesn't really make any sense. It would be the same as if we had Picard on TNG and how he ended. He was a family man. And then Star Trek Picard Episode 1, the first thing... I have a feminine voice. Thank you, David. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you said I have a feminine voice. Your partner thinks that too, and they love it, David. Whether it be your wife, your girlfriend, mom, but all 3. They really like my feminine voice as well. So, this is why major channels don't do anything with me. So anyway, wow. So if we had TNG Picard, and at the end we have him playing cards, becoming more of a family person, becoming accepting people in, because the entire arc for him was that he didn't like kids, and he was it was hard for him to let people in. He always kept people at arm's length. It's not that he didn't care about them, but he really, for the most part, was professional, and he kept that way. And again, the end of the series was him accepting them as family. All right, so you have that. And then the beginning, the first Star Trek Picard episode. So season 1, episode 1 of Picard. You have Picard standing, and you're watching him. It's a wide shot. He has a phaser rifle in his hand, and he's just looking forward. And then all of a sudden, it pans around, and you see that he's walking into a building, and on top, at the top, it says St. Mary's School. Now, for me, seems a little unearned. Could you take the Picard that happened in TNG and have him do something so horrific in the first episode and say, well, 30 years have passed and things have happened to make him this way? Well, yeah, you can. There can be a logical story, I dare say, possibly a good one, that explains that. But if you just tell us and not show us, then it's going to feel like a betrayal. It's going to feel unearned. And that's my problem. And that's a good catch by Trek Culture. Think Icheb will be in more scenes. Casey King's makeup photos didn't match his scene. I haven't looked at the IMDb. I'll bet you the IMDb. I bet the IMDb would tell us. I didn't check that. So going back to, and I use that extreme example to make my point. Going back to 7 of 9. You give 44 minutes, 3 minutes of it being a gore scene, and the rest dialogue, and then she becomes a murderer. I don't think that you could... I think that it could be interesting to watch that fade. And we may actually get to see the fade. And that's the thing. I don't like this type of storytelling, but they may first show us what she is and then tell us in the background in the upcoming episodes. But I more prefer front-loaded than that. So I'm trying to give a little bit of leeway. But it's not unfair to say this is not who this person was, and you're just telling us in dialogue. So I have to... What's up, German Trekkie? By the way, check out German Trekkie, too. He has a wonderful channel. He's a great animator. You guys should check him out. I put this on the community tab, and this, honest to God, is my question. If they had explained it more, let's say in the next four episodes she's going to be in, it's completely explained the fate. We have enough background. She walks us through it. We have flashbacks. It shows us how she became this ranger. Would you then be okay with what we saw in this episode? Because for me, I think so. I really do. I think that 7 of 9, the justification for who she is, can be made. It just needs more backstory. That said, if they did this with Sisko, or they did it with Kira, or they did it with Georgiou or Spock, there's no coming back for me on that. And I don't think that's unreasonable. But I'd love your guys' thoughts and opinions, by the way. Also, it's awesome Trek Cultures here, can I say. Let's see. They did kind of tell us she's a side character to the Picard story. She lived for years, established a relationship with a woman, and was eventually... Yeah, Matthew, there's no real evidence for that. That's just inferred. They didn't tell us that. I don't care one way or the other, but if you're going to do it, do it. But there's no evidence for any kind of love relationship. However, they did tell us that. They didn't show us that. That's my exact point. We were told everything that happened. We weren't shown. Kira would have made sense as a ranger. You know, actually, yeah, the more I say that, I could see Kira doing that. She was straight up a terrorist. She did a lot of bad things. So I could see that with Kira. So maybe not Kira. Well, definitely not Kira now that I think of it. Good catch. Dax 2.0, I think. Probably not. Cisco for sure. Mr. Blazener Day, I think the episode was great and enjoyed it. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, here's the thing I said, and this is the point of the channel. The channel is a conversation. So if you like something or you disagree with me, then that's fine, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's why we're having this conversation. I'm already okay with it. I don't really think that it was that big of a leap considering the personality she displayed in Voyager. I completely disagree. Bradders Lamont. I think if you look at the last season of Voyager, or no, honestly, pick any time and place with 7 of 9 and Voyager, and it is the antithesis of Star Trek Picard's 7 of 9. The antithesis. Every point. Yeah, Kira becoming Kai is insane. I don't believe she did. That's not. I'm watching the kitty on the back of the chair. Well, thank you. It makes sense if the Bajorans headed up the Rangers. Yeah, I could see that. I feel like after she went on Jason Voorhees level killing spree, 7 was out of touch for me. Cyborg Jason, yes. 7, no. Okay. Interesting to see what 7 does or becomes now after killing. She was focused on this for so long. How will she now do? You know, it's probably going to be... I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhat of a redemption story for her after this. Though, honestly, I kind of hope not. If you want to go dark, then go dark. It's undeserved. It's unearned. But if you want to make her this dark character, then make her this dark character. Make her into something that will be remembered for Star Trek Picard. Oh, you misunderstood. I wasn't defending this show. This just wasn't one of my complaints. Ah, okay. I'm thinking that the Hirogen, she's shocked because he was getting in the way. How would that at any point? Shocking the Hirogen and straight up murdering a person are two different things, in my opinion. But I don't know. I would be very interested to see if they try to redeem her. I hope they don't, if they're going to keep this character. The one thing that Star Trek Picard is doing is it is going dark. It's trying something new. It's taking the Star Trek universe into the darkness. So the question is, are they going to commit to that? I don't know. Disagree with you entirely on this. 7 was retrained to be an individual, to be human, with the Goldilocks ideals of the Federation as her guide. Then in the 20 years we miss the Federation, there's where you fail, Mikhail's Navy. There's where you fail. Stop it right there. You can stop typing. Here we go. Are you ready? Because this is where people get confused. Here it is. All right. Here we go. Let's reread it again. Disagree with you entirely on this. You don't understand what I'm saying. 7 was retrained to be an individual, to be human, with Goldilocks ideas of the Federation as her guide. Yeah, maybe we can make that argument. Sure, I actually don't have an issue with that argument. She went from one collective to another, and that collective brainwashed her just like the previous one did. I actually don't disagree with that. Then in the 20 years we miss, there you go. That's it. That's the conversation. Mikhail's Navy. That's the conversation. In the 20 years we miss. That's what I'm saying. It's unearned, and it doesn't feel good, because in those 20 years, we get like a paragraph telling us what's going on. So that's the problem. That should be expanded on. Don't just show us 3 minutes of gore, give us a paragraph, and then have her straight up murder people. Actually do something with this. Now again, they may actually do that in the upcoming episodes, but for now, they haven't. And that's my point. That's where the disagreement comes. We'll have to disagree. She said herself they never fully regained her humanity, and it was easy for her to act as a superior. Okay. Now, could they write a story where she actually falls from grace? I think it would be hard to do. Let's address that. Let's say that they did that. Let's say that they wrote the story and that it shows her fall from grace. Her going from who she was in Voyager down to... Before I do that, let me address that. Mikkel's Navy. I just don't think the story should be expected to cough it up in the first 5 episodes like you apparently do. Yeah, if you're not going to take the time to honor a beloved character and give them the appropriate background and the appropriate time, then you shouldn't use that character. Or you shouldn't give her such a role. You should give her more of a back-end role. Now, that is a storytelling, that is a subjective storytelling opinion. I do think that it is based on some science. I think that when you look at how people relate, how people love the hero's journey, if you look at the most popular movies, books, and even games, I think that you can bring some science behind why you should do that, but it's still a subjective opinion. And my subjective opinion is that if they're going to take this route with that character and they're going to do it in 5 episodes, then absolutely yes. They should, with 100% certainty, dive more into her background and explain it more. Absolutely. Now, that's where you and I will probably disagree on it, which is fine. Again, I admit that that's a subjective opinion. I think there's science behind it, but it's still subjective. Let's say they did that though. Let's, for the sake of argument, say in 5 episodes they were able to build out that backstory to a competent degree. Because again, good and bad is subjective when it comes to storytelling aspects, in my opinion. Is this something that I'd want, or is this something that could happen? If you look at 7 of 9, remember who 7 of 9 was. There was and I forget the episode, but there's a key episode that completely explains her character 100%. She talks about how she was instilled with a sense of confidence, a sense of, I'm going to use the word logic, but that's not really what I'm going for. But she comes off as logical. A sense of oneness due to the Borg Collective, that still guides her. And so when you see her, she's very regal, very elegant, very regimented. And it's because of the collective itself. So you have to break that down. You have to completely remove that. The only way I would see to remove that would be to do kind of where they're going, which is to have her hunted like an animal, because people want Borg parts, right? As well as have Starfleet completely abandon her. The only problem there, I think, is that I don't know that I want to see that done to that character. Again, that character's beloved. I would not be okay with them doing it to Cisco. I would not be okay with them doing it to other characters. But this one doesn't mean as much. I don't know. We still don't know Chakotay's fate. That might somewhat contribute to how she is now. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they killed Chakotay as a part of it. Icheb, Chakotay leaving. I don't know. The part of it is, again, I'm just not as... I like 7 of 9. I thought she was a good character, but I'm not as connected to her as others, you know? Mikkel's Navy. So here's where you and me differ, and it goes back to this entire conversation. Like, for instance, Jessie Gender, wonderful channel, you guys should check her out, talks about how this is a wonderful exploration of trauma. That may or may not be true. I'm more leaning towards that it could be true. But that's not how people see it when it comes to 7 of 9. They just see it as a betrayal of the character. Mikkel's Navy is making her a badass, not honoring her, though. We already disagree. We disagree with the fundamentals. First off, 7 of 9 has always had that status. She's always been able to own almost anything. She is half Borg and can basically do almost anything that she wants to do. So they're not making her anything. They're just keeping her with the status quo. But beyond that, that's not what they did with her. You say that they made her this Banff hero that is running through, gunning people down, and just taking names. I call her a murderer. We don't even agree on the basics, which is where you and me are having our issues. she was always that, but I don't think they were making her that. I think they were simply, the core of it is the disagreement. As much as I didn't like the Chakotay 7 storyline, I think that must have had a big influence on her. She stated many times that she didn't want to go to Earth. Yeah, if they don't kill Chakotay, honestly, I would almost be for them killing Chakotay and Icheb if this is where they're going to go. And that's going to make so many people mad. But if you're really going to break her down, I think Chakotay has to die. So let me ask you guys this. I think this is a good question. Let's assume that we need to get 7 of 9 to become this this murderer. Would you kill Chakotay to make her into this? I'm curious. Trek Culture, I think killing Chakotay would be a slight on Voyager. So you don't think a 3-minute gore scene where they literally yank the eyeball out of Icheb and make him suffer in the most horrific way, and then have 7 of 9 come up and straight up kill him, is not a slight on Voyager? If I was to pitch that to you, I mean this in the nicest way, but Trek Culture, if I was to pitch that to you, I said, hey, let me do a short film. Before any of this happened, let me do a short film on Trek Culture. And what I want to do is I want to have Icheb being tortured. I want to show as much as I can of the gore of Icheb being just mutilated with no anesthetization. And then I want to have 7 of 9 run up and put a gun to his liver or wherever she did and just murder him. And I want it to be a fan fiction. Do you think that'd be a good fan fiction? Even just saying it doesn't make sense. I get what you're saying, but I think there's already slight that has been done. They took a character and the first thing you see is just his brutal mutilation. I'm not saying do you want, now for those who are answering, I'm not saying that's what you want to happen or that they should or that it's not disrespectful. I'm saying, do you think that would turn her? Like his death, would that turn her? It makes sense, but I don't know. I'd like it. 7 of 9. I get that they may not do that, but I do think that I do think that would be a good way to go if we're going to do that to her. So Janeway accepts Starfleet's decision to end the evacuation efforts and the dissolution of the neutral zone. Then both Chakotay dies and she watches Icheb brutally mutilated. Everything she ever believed is gone, and her mentor, for whatever reason, accepts Starfleet the way that it's becoming. Yeah, I think that's a good story. And here's my thing, going back to McCall's. All you would need to do is in 5 episodes, give me 15 minutes. 5-minute segments. Give me 15 minutes out of, let's see, 44 times 5. Out of 220 minutes. Out of 3 hours, almost 4 hours, give me 15 minutes and I could do it. And then that would make sense for 7. A lot of people aren't going to like it. I'm not sure that I want this for the character, but that is how you do. I see. I think we just figured it out, guys. I honest to God think that's how you do it right there. I'd be interested. I think if we wanted to turn her, and I think that would make perfect sense. She's been abandoned by her one mentor. Her lover has died. She watches who she considers a son brutally mutilated. And then if you want to go that way, I don't even mind. Make the person that mutilated Icheb her lover as well. She's bisexual or whatever. I don't care. Make that her lover. I mean, actually say it. Don't pander, because that's what that is. They're just pandering right now. Either say it or don't. And boom, you've got the 7 of 9 you wanted. I don't see Janeway siding with Admiralty. You know, Janeway is so inconsistent in her writing, I could see it either way. I really could. Hey, Rick, we're talking about hypotheticals. I but here's the thing. Here's the other point. Here's the point. They could actually be doing that in the upcoming episodes. Everything we just said in the next 5 episodes they show us. So is it and that's just a way of storytelling. I don't know that I'm a huge fan of it, but they've already done that before. They've showed us something and then explained it. That seems to be the way they work. It's always a battle offset or they are close. A Starfleet officer who is a bioweapon built to use against the Borg. You tell me Starfleet anti-Borg guys didn't have him monitored so they know if he sneezes? I don't know what you're talking about, Gizmod. If you're talking about Hugh, I'm not sure. They didn't really track him. All we need now is 7 wearing a yellow suit and a katana. I don't think they went that far. I don't get where Janeway is. I would assume she'd be the CNC of Starfleet and not Clancy. So when it comes to this Star Trek, I guess maybe I've just accepted that this is not classic or nostalgia Trek. And I think you have to. I think you have to accept that you're looking at more a Tarantino style and one that's looking for niched audiences and not what we saw in the original Trek that we had before JJ. And again, I honestly think that there is no... A lot of people say they couldn't see Janeway doing that. I honestly could. And I think you could explain it and still keep Janeway's character. So we saw with Picard how when he couldn't get everything he wanted, he just completely abandoned the Romulans. In his words, he gave up the good because he couldn't get the perfect. Janeway is a fighter. I think you could write Janeway staying in Starfleet and fighting with every ounce she had to continue to help the Romulans. Ultimately, she failed. But I think you could keep her in there and keep her fighting and have 7 of 9 just not understand it. I'll also say, and this will make a lot of the people here mad, I don't necessarily think Kurtzman is doing a bad job on Picard. And I think that they improved in Discovery Season 2. And I think Discovery Season 3 is going to be probably a rung below, one rung below Picard, generations better than Season 1. I really think they learned their lesson Discovery Season 1. Man, what is wrong with me? Wow. I really think they learned their lesson in Discovery Season 1. I just keep telling myself it's a slight alteration of the original timeline before the temporal Cold War. Well, you can. I get what you're saying, but I can see Janeway pulling towards the withdrawals for the sake of the Federation. I mean, maybe. I honestly... I could see her going either way. I honestly could. Janeway's a fighter with her own moral code, or at least future Janeway was. Yeah. Hire Rick Berman. Nah, I'm okay without Rick Berman, personally. First series of any Trek is rough. Yes, but it didn't have to be that rough. They really miscalculated the social norms and social acceptabilities when it came to what they wanted to do. They really, really misjudged the audience that they needed, which is why Season 2 was much better and much more subdued. I think they saw some massive failures based on episodes in Discovery, and they really listen to that. Do you think the niche audience Trek is going for will have the longevity of classic Trek? I don't know. I'm willing to guess so, because here's the thing. Here's the thing that I don't think people have honestly realized, and we see it because we now are so interconnected with the internet and social media. The objective is to get a generation instilled and then just drain money from them throughout their life. And the generation that grew up with Enterprise, DS9, TNG, the original series for sure, is decaying. And so you need to get that new generation to come back, because most, we'll use the word normies, though I don't necessarily, most normies, even if they don't like new Trek, will still buy merchandise of the old Trek. And so, stop yawning, cat. What are you doing? Hey. Stop yawning, cat. This is riveting stuff. I'll take any of the original Star Trek people, Rick Berman, Michael Pereja, over. Yeah, it's whatever. So, I don't know, guys. I kind of wanted to have that conversation. I'm going to be having a new video coming out probably tomorrow. So y'all want to hear something funny. I'm trying to do a little more live action, add a little more spice, make it spicy. And so I have this grizzled character that I'm doing at the beginning of my breakdown of 7 of 9. And I bought cigarettes and a lighter. I don't smoke, and I never will. Oh, man, after that incident, I won't ever. And so what I was doing is I was doing my line, and I took a drag. I had to do it a couple times because I was coughing, because obviously I don't smoke. And I took a drag. I didn't know that you could have head rushes from cigarettes. I didn't know that they could impact you like actual other drugs could. Oh, man. I didn't know what was happening, and I was on the ground for a second. I had such a head rush. I did not like it. I do not smoke. It is a horrible thing. It is god awful. Don't do it. Have you done a video? What are you doing? Why are you being weird? I can't see Star Trek Picard inspiring kids to go join NASA or any space program the way TOS and TNG did. I don't know that they would inspire people to join, but I do think that they'll keep their base. It's just a different type of storytelling. What was I saying? Yeah, don't ever smoke. It's a horrific thing. I'll never do it again. Oh, the CBS merger. So here's the thing about the CBS merger. It actually has been kind of devastating right now. Viacom CBS took a hit to their market shares, and ironically, Paramount, the two companies, CBS and the other company, has were worth more individually than Viacom CBS is worth now. They have taken some massive hits. And they're I think their market share dropped by 15%. Interestingly, it's because of the way they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to keep all of their really lucrative properties on their streaming, and then give like Dish Network and everything all of the don't wants. And that's pissing off Dish Network a lot. And so I don't think they I don't know how this is going to end up in the long term. Because again, a lot of people are using this to say Star Trek isn't doing well. Now, I think the Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Discovery is making them a boatload of money. I think it's the other decisions that's really hurting them. And I think that ultimately that may... I don't know. I don't think that they can do what they're doing and stay profitable. I guess we're going to have to see. I like the merger in that it makes a lot of things easier for Star Trek. But beyond that, I don't know. I explained 2 ways. The Picard timeline is screwed up from 2 events. The Janeway should have left her timeline alone. Discovery created yesterday's emperor. I mean, that's not what happened. I mean, canon is canon, but I could understand accepting that. What do you think the story is with Icheb and his holograms? Seem he's got philosophical issues going. I don't know what you're talking about in that, Broken Eyes, unless you're referring to something in Voyager. I don't know. All right, guys. I kind of just want to talk about that. We'll have a video coming out tomorrow. Oh my god. I'd be interested in your opinions. So check out my community tab, which I will get right here and share right here. Vote on your opinion. Again, the video will be out tomorrow. My daughter's birthday party is today, so that's going to be fun. We're going to a VR place. So I know none of y'all care. We're getting to stuff y'all don't care about. We're going to a virtual reality store or play place or whatever. And basically all the kids are going to be hooked up into virtual reality, and they're going to play that. So it's going to be interesting. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'm going to see you guys on the next Lore Reloaded.